Crystal McDowell, a 37-year-old mother of two and successful real estate agent in Baytown, Texas, disappeared on August 25, 2017, just hours before Hurricane Harvey struck the Gulf Coast. As the storm rolled in and floodwaters rose, Crystal's family grew increasingly frantic, reporting her missing when she failed to show up for an appointment or respond to messages. What initially seemed like a case of a woman lost in the chaos of a natural disaster soon revealed a far more chilling truth. Crystal had last been seen leaving the home of her boyfriend, Paul Hargrave, around 7:30 a.m. Surveillance footage from his home confirmed she had gotten into her black Mercedes and driven off alone. When she failed to pick up her children from her ex-husband's house later that day, alarm bells rang. Her car was later found in a Motel 6 parking lot in the nearby town of Montbellevue, abandoned and wiped clean. At first, investigators considered a number of possibilities, including an accident related to the flooding, but Crystal's behavior leading up to her disappearance suggested otherwise. She had texted a friend just days earlier saying, "If something happens to me, check into Stephen." She was referring to her ex-husband, Stephen McDowell. Crystal and Stephen had divorced earlier that year after years of tension and emotional turmoil. Though they had joint custody of their children, Crystal had recently begun dating Paul Hargrave and was preparing to take a vacation with him and the kids. Stephen, according to friends and family, had not taken the breakup well and still harbored feelings for Crystal. Witnesses later testified that he was controlling, possessive, and had threatened Crystal when she tried to move on with her life. Despite the massive flooding caused by Hurricane Harvey, detectives continued working tirelessly. Their suspicions soon turned towards Stephen McDowell, especially after reviewing phone records and noticing inconsistencies in his timeline. Investigators learned that Stephen had met with Crystal the morning she vanished to pick up the children. He claimed she had left shortly afterward, but his cell phone data placed him near the location where her car was later found. After being confronted with the evidence, Stephen McDowell eventually confessed. On September 9, 2017, he led investigators to a wooded area in Chambers County, where they discovered Crystal's decomposed body buried in a shallow grave. She had been strangled to death. Stephen told police that they had argued that morning, and in a fit of rage, he strangled her inside his home while the children were in another room. He then disposed of her body and left her car in a motel parking lot to throw off suspicion. In 2019, Stephen McDowell stood trial for the murder of his ex-wife. The prosecution laid out a clear case of domestic violence, jealousy, and premeditation. They argued that Stephen could not accept Crystal's newfound independence and lashed out violently to maintain control. Witnesses recounted Crystal's fears and the emotional abuse she endured during their marriage. Stephen's defense team tried to frame the murder as a crime of passion, committed in a moment of anger rather than a calculated act. However, the jury was not swayed. They deliberated for just under 2 hours before returning a verdict of guilty. Stephen McDowell was sentenced to 50 years in prison for the murder of Crystal McDowell. The sentence was seen by many as justice, though her family expressed that no amount of prison time could bring back the woman who had touched so many lives.